every day, and it's so heartening to come here today and see all the great work that so many people, so many high school students and young people across the state are doing to push these same ideals and values. And I want to talk about green schools specifically, but first I just want to address the broader issue at hand around global climate change. And I know that you're all familiar with global climate change, and I'm sure most of you have studied it at some point, and many of you are actively working to combat global climate change in your own ways. But I want to speak about it briefly because I've become concerned recently about the backlash and the skepticism that has suddenly arisen around what's going on with global climate change. And skeptics, and particularly cable talk show hosts and radio hosts, are suddenly saying this is all invalid, it's not real, it's all a hoax, and this is a lot of nonsense. People who are talking about greening their lifestyle and greening our communities and changing the way that we live. And I want to say we should point out that there is a lot when it comes to the science of global climate change that can't be proven, but there's a heck of a lot more that can be proven. We know our sea level is rising. We know the core temperatures across our planet are rising. We know that much of our ice shelf in our poles is melting. And we know that this is causing many things to change in our ecosystems and our environments. And that's a reality. These are real things that are really happening and getting worse every day. The parts that we can't necessarily connect, but that we can know through deductive reasoning, that are links that we're seeing: loss of species on the planet, severe damage to our ecosystems, and an increasing unpredictability in our weather pattern. And every time you hear somebody say when it's 80 degrees in April or March, well, if this is global climate change, I want more. Or when it's snowing in April and says, well, whatever happened to global warming? I think the point to make to them and to remember is that it's not about global warming and a lot of hot days. It's about the massive unpredictability of weather that we will face. It's about massive flooding that can damage and destroy entire communities. It's about massive hurricanes that level an entire city in New Orleans and change it forever. And it's about all the catastrophic consequences that we're left with because of global warming. And we can take what we already know and see what's happening presently, and I think deductively reason that they are strongly connected, and I think ultimately, hopefully, through you and your hard work in school and what you go to do with your careers, we will make those links. But we really can't wait for that time. We need to change it right now. Because the world that you're going to grow up in, the world that my children are going to grow up in, the world that your children will grow up in, will be drastically different and for the worse if we don't change it now. And I just want you to think about that every time you hear somebody on the radio or cable TV start to pan this stuff and say that it's all false and it's all fake. It's anything but, and we should be smart enough to recognize that. And when I look at this at the end of the day, I think about this pretty clearly. If we want to reverse global climate change, if we want to save our planet, it has to start with individuals. And what we're really talking about is one person starting the change, and that's you. Because when you decide to live an environmentally responsible and sustainable lifestyle in your house, then you can change the way your brother and your sister live. And when they start changing the way they live, you can change the way your parents live. And then one household has changed. And when one household has changed, the neighbors on the street will change. And that will change one street. And when one street is changed, the next street will change. And when that street changes, a town will change or a city will change. And when a town or a city changes, the next town or city will change. And when that has happened, a state will change. And when one state changes the way that it lives, the next state will change, and then 50 states will change, and a country will change. And then the country to the north of it will change, and the country to the south of it will change, and a continent will change. And when one continent changes, the next continent will change. And when that has happened, the entire world will have changed the way that it lives every day, because one person made a decision to change the way they live, and the world will change, and it will be saved for you, for my kids, and for your kids, and for the future of this planet and the communities that we live in. And that's really what it comes down to. And where I tie that back to green schools is, that's the driving force that gets people to change. It starts so often in our schools, with young people leading the way. High schoolers, middle schoolers, elementary schoolers leading the way. Taking what they learn in school and what they do in school and bringing it into their household. And that's why I think green schools are so important. That's what's going to lead to the change that will allow us to reverse global climate change. What goes on in our schools? And so I think that that's so vital. And I hope that I know that you all attend this school, cherish this school that you have. We don't have a lot like this school in Boston.
You can